What's going on, guys? Rob here. Welcome to my very first ranking video. I've done ranking videos in the past, but I kind of wanted to do some updates to them because my feelings have changed on a lot of these series that I'm going to talk about in other videos. But this particular series has been requested a lot, and I just never got around to it, but finally I'm doing it, and it's the Friday the 13th series. I'm going to rank all 12 films, and I just want everyone to make note of this. I love every single movie in this series, so whatever comes up at number 12 doesn't mean that I hate the movie. It just means that it came up number 12 because maybe I like some of the other ones before it a little bit better. But I love every single movie in the series, and I cannot say the same for Halloween. I cannot say the same for Nightmare on Elm Street. I cannot say the same for, Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Phantasm. There are series out there that I do like every single movie that aren't, horror related. Rocky. I love all the movies in that series. Back to the Future. I was going to say Indiana Jones, but when it was a trilogy. But when it comes to horror series, Friday the 13th, I love all the movies. They're just unique. They're, different stories. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just fascinated with the series. So this would be my favorite horror series. So I just want to, I want everyone to make note of that before I start this. Now, this is just my opinion. I'm going to go from 12 to 1, worst to best, even though none of them are worst to me. But anyway, let's get started. Number 12, of course, for me is Jason X. A really stupid story that makes no sense. Jason in space. You had to put Jason in space. Leprechaun made it to space. Why not Jason? And I do love the kills in this movie. And they have a really cool android fight where Jason fights this android and basically gets his ass kicked until he gets upgraded into Terminator Jason. And, I don't know. It's stupid, but it's fun. I had fun with this movie. So, but this would come in at number 12. And like I said, I don't hate it or anything like that. Coming in at number 11 is Jason Goes to Hell. A lot of people hate this movie, and I remember seeing this in the theater. I don't hate this movie at all. I think it went in a interesting direction. I would have changed a few things, but for what we got, I just, I applaud the way Adam Marcus did it, and he took a risk, and it was something different. Jason jumping from body to body, possessing people pretty much, because he's pretty much a demon. I mean, the guy, the guy's been shot, he's been blown up. The guy has just never went down, and he came back to life in part 6, so it's like by lightning. So there's something supernatural about Jason, and that's what I liked about it. Even though he did appear a few minutes in the first act and then a few minutes in the third act. But all in all, this is a very gory film. Actually, if you compare this to the Friday the 13th movies before it, this is the goriest one. But, oh no, I like it. That's number 11. Number 10 is Friday the 13th Remake. Now, I thought this movie was a little rushed. It's basically like Friday the 13th part 1 through 4, I guess. They had a lot to cram in there, the whole beginning, when the credits are going, you have Pamela Voorhees gets her head cut off, and then, Jason, sees it. He, when he's growing up, he kills the first group of kids with the potato sack on his head. And then, you know, the second group of kids, he finally gets the mask, the iconic hockey mask. You know, there's a lot going on in the remake. And I think they could have just slowed down. Even though I do like what they did with the underground tunnel aspect. How Jason gets from A to B really quick. I like that. And, you know, he's kind of watching over the camp and how that's how he does it. So that was really cool. That was a really cool thing they did. But yeah, that's number 10 is the remake. Number 9 is Freddy vs. Jason. Now, I saw this in theater too. This I've been waiting for this movie, you know, for the longest time. You know, when I heard it was announced, I was just like, oh my god, finally we're getting Freddy versus Jason. Robert Englund is Freddy, but sadly, you know, no Kane Hodder. Kane Hodder is my favorite Jason, even though I do like all the portrayals of Jason. I do. I like them all. But Kane Hodder, I felt like he's the most aggressive, and he has a unique style to him with the breathing, and then, you know, the way he kills somebody. He just like get it done, and he's, you know, aggressive. One of the times that you can really see it is in part 8 when he tackles this police officer and he like drags him back, and then he grabs the professor and dunks him in that sludge, and he's sitting there just holding him. He's just sitting there holding him, and then he just throws him like this. I mean, he's aggressive as hell. I love that. But I don't know. This movie, it was a lot of fun and it was entertaining. I do like how they brought the two iconic horror villains together to fight. And, you know, it was, yeah, that's all it was. It was just a really cool versus movie. And, you know, up to that point, King Kong versus Godzilla was probably my favorite versus movie. I love that movie, even though it's cheesy. It's great fun. All right, so coming in at number 8, ironically, is Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Now, on a lot of lists, people would probably put this last, or at least close to, you know, last place. But I like this film. I get why people don't. There are things that don't make sense. There are things, you know, the ending is stupid. The fact that this, you know, boat comes to where Crystal Lake is. I mean, Jason's in the lake, and he gets on this boat, and this boat just goes to New York City. You know, he doesn't even spend that much time in New York City, probably due to budget reasons, but I like his whole time in the boat because it kind of makes it a little bit scarier. If you think about it, you know, there's only so many places you can go on the ship. And, you know, there's narrow corridors and stuff, and Jason, he's hunting people on the boat. I love it. There's some great kills when they get into New York. I like that whole thing. But I like this movie a lot. Yeah. All right, coming in at number 7 is Friday the 13th, Part 5, New Beginning. And this movie's a lot of fun. You know, even though it's not Jason, it's Roy, the paramedic. You know, because of what happens to his son. Forget it, Vic. Just forget it. But I think you're really out of line. I got 2 chocolate bars. Shh, don't tell the girls. Leave me alone. Ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh, baby. Now you're gonna get it, bitch. This movie is hilarious, and it's just a lot of fun. I love it. I love this movie. You big dildo, eat your fucking slop. Alright, so that's number 7. Number 6, Friday the 13th, Part 7, New Blood. Basically, Carrie versus Jason. You got Tina, who has these powers where she can move things with her mind, and she takes on Jason. And this is the first appearance of Kane Hodder playing Jason. I love his look. You know, when he comes out of the lake, he's all like decomposing, and like you can see his ribs, and you know his face is just it's awesome. I love Jason's look in this. But yeah, this has always been one of my favorites. And on a lot of people's list, they will put this, you know, up higher. But yeah, for me, it's comes in at number 6. Coming in at number 5 is Friday the 13th Part 2, which is technically Jason's first entry, but even though he was at the end of Part 1 as a boy. But this is, you know, he's growing up and he's wearing the sack over his face. I do like this one. It was directed by Steve Miner. You know, it does remind me of the first movie a lot. I mean, the way it was shot, the way the camp counselors act and what they're doing, the situations, the cinematography, you know, when the killer's coming around the corner and, you know, certain things like that. It reminds me of the first movie. It definitely does. All right, so coming in at number 4 is the original Friday the 13th. The original one, you know, what can I say that hasn't already been said? You know, Betsy Palmer, fantastic. Even though she was only in the 3rd act, you know, she shows up. But if you were watching this for the first time, you would be blown away just by her performance, because she comes off as nice, but then she just goes crazy, like you know, Kathy Bates in Misery. She goes nuts. Look what you did to him. Ah! I mean, God. You know, Adrienne King's sitting there throwing shit at her, and she's just like blocking everything. She's just like, come on, bitch. Like, come on. You know? She's just like throwing pencils at her and she's just knocking shit away. And then she goes up to Adrienne King, she's like, psh, psh, psh. Like she slapped that bitch. She's slapping her silly. Oh, man. Yeah, this movie's great. And like I said, it has one of those mysterious killer vibes where you don't know who's actually doing it. Through the whole film, you're sitting there guessing who's doing this. You don't even know if it's a man or a woman until you find out in the 3rd act. But still, you know, you always see like the killer's hands. You know, they did the same thing in Sleepaway Camp. But it's like you always see the killer's hands, and like you always, you know, trying to guess who's doing it. So, great movie. Coming in at number 3 is Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. You know, after Friday the 13th Part 4, that was supposed to be the end. And then Part 5 introduced, you know, they went in another direction. But then here we have Jason resurrected. He's in the grave. Tommy Jarvis is there. He wants to make sure he's dead. Lightning comes down, and it's like a Frankenstein situation, like a Frankenstein monster. The lightning, you know, pretty much awakens Jason, and he's a corpse. He's walking around as a corpse, and he has like utility gloves and a utility belt with you know, with a knife and a machete. I don't know. I love this movie though. I love the music. Man Behind the Mask is like one of my favorite songs. But yeah, this movie is great. Great characters too. All right, so that's number 3. Coming in at number 2 is Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, which is the 4th movie in the series. This movie has great characters, and it's just all around, you know, fun. I like the kills here. You know, when Jason's in the morgue, he escapes. I love the kill where he stabs that nurse, like in the chest area, and he just goes all the way down. Like he starts cutting her, and she's like, ah, like, and oh my God, that's crazy. But you got Crispin Glover doing his famous dance. Ted, hey Ted, where's the goddamn corkscrew? Can you give Teddy Bear a kiss? Yeah, this movie, great. You know, this is the introduction of Tommy Jarvis, you know, as a kid. And Tommy, you know, he's in Part 4, then he's a little bit older in Part 5. Well, Corey Feldman actually had an appearance in Part 5. But then, you know, he's older, played by another actor. And then, you know, in Part 6, of course. But, yeah, Corey Feldman's in this as Tommy Jarvis. I always loved his room full of masks. The fact that this kid can make homemade masks, you know, I always loved that. When they would show that, I'm like, man, I wonder if I can do that. And I remember I tried to collect masks and like put them, you know, try to put them on the wall, and I could never really do it right. But I'm like, I was so fascinated with the way he was making his own masks. Like, I wish I could do that, because I have so many ideas for these really creepy masks. And that was like one of the best scenes when he takes the guy up to his room. So if you haven't guessed already, my #1 favorite Friday the 13th film is Part 3, 3D. Same director as Part 2, but you know, these two movies are similar. I mean, the way they're shot, they're similar. Joseph Zito directed Part 4, but Part 3 was the very first Friday the 13th movie that I ever saw. It was the very first Friday the 13th movie that I ever collected in my collection. And it's just my favorite because I think the characters are the most interesting in this movie. The kills are some of the best, and this is the very first film that he gets his iconic hockey mask. And you know, Jason, you know, the hockey mask is Jason. That's just like Freddy has his glove. You know, you have to have the hockey mask for Jason. That's just, he's an icon for that. But yeah, this movie did so much for me. It has a history with me. And yeah, I remember going to Suncoast Video. I remember picking this up, watching it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get the other ones. And went back. I bought 1 and 2. Then I bought 4 and 5. Then 6 and 7. And then I got 8. And that's when I got all the Paramount Friday the 13th films. And I was hooked with the series. You know, this movie it's because of this film that I got hooked on the series. So that's why it's very special to me. Alright, so there you guys go. My ranking from worst to best for the Friday the 13th movies. Quick recap. Number 12 is Jason X. Number 11 is Jason Goes to Hell. Number 10 is the remake. Number 9, Freddy vs. Jason. Number 8 is Part 8. Number 7 is Part 5. Number 6 is Part 7. Number 5 is Part 2. Number 4 is Part 1. Number 3 is Part 6. Number 2 is Part 4. And number 1 is Part 3. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your ranking down in the comments, or do a video response if you want. I have a ton of rankings. As you can see, my list right here. I have, even on the back side, I have a ton of series that I'm going to rank. Just really quick before I end this video, like the Halloween series I'm going to rank. The Nightmare on Elm Street movies I'm going to rank. The Jaws films, the Alien films, the Predator films. Let's see, what else here? The Hannibal Lecter films, the Terminator films, Jeepers Creepers, Hostel, Wrong Turn, Species, Scream, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, even, you know, ones that are not horror related, like the Rocky films, the Indiana Jones films, the Die Hard films, just things like that. I have a bunch of ranking films that I want to do, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So, hope you guys enjoyed this again. Subscribe for more content. I definitely got a lot of videos coming out. I've been working on a lot. So, yeah, hope you guys enjoy. And this is Rob signing off, and I'll see you guys in the next one.